Alrighty, what's up? What's up? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So let's get talking. My name is Michael Music. I am going through this cool book I got when I was 19 years old. It's called Think and Grow Rich, and a little backstory about it. I read it when I was 19, and I was kind of surprised that I didn't get rich right away from reading it. But I soon found out, oh, this is a book that you read, and not only read, but you actually have to do. You actually will not get rich at all just by reading this book. So you got to do. So I thought, okay, like let me. I obviously want to understand it better. I've been studying it ever since I was 19. Right now I'm 22. It's been about 3 years studying it on and off. And recently started just doing these live streams, talking about it, having an open discussion about it, not necessarily teaching it because I'm not necessarily the master of this book yet, but I'm hoping to be a living example that this book does work. And with that being said, I say that all to say that we are here today. We're studying the chapter on organized planning, and that will be that. So some pre thoughts before I get into diving into the book on organized planning. I'll admit this wasn't my favorite chapter at first because it was around 63 to 64 pages. It was the longest chapter in the book, and it was really hard to study this chapter out of the others because you you have to dedicate a little bit more time to study 63, 65 pages. But we are going to take on that challenge today. I'm gonna basically read through it, and let's see. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna just share some cool insights that I have with it. Oh shit. Is YouTube still up? Okay, we're still good on YouTube. Okay. What did we talk about yesterday? We talked a little bit about the mastermind. Uh and we talked, this was really important from yesterday. He said, you are engaging in an undertaking of major importance to you. We're talking about what it is that you want. It can be it can be personal to you. This isn't about what I want for you. This is about what you want for you. And we're talking that you want to be successful at this, right? We're talking about your ultimate, definite, major purpose. You want to be successful at it. And how are you going to be successful? What do you need to actually get there? Well, you must first have plans which are faultless. It's actually interesting. Most of the people that are rich today, I notice, what do they have that most others don't? And it kind of is in the theme of organized planning. They have plans which are faultless, that they are continuously following. So it's not that you are not worthy of your biggest dream. It's not that you aren't worthy of getting what it is that you want, or like this big purpose that you have for yourself. It's just the fact that you are following the wrong plan right now, and that's just simply it. I'm following maybe the wrong plan right now, and it is what it is. But the cool thing is now that we can acknowledge it, it's like, okay, so how can I make better plans to follow? So I thought that was pretty cool stuff. And we talked a lot about the mastermind yesterday because this is important. He basically says neglect over this is going to really affect you. So you may not have a mastermind in place yet, but you definitely want to consider who you want in your mastermind and start thinking of forming your own mastermind. So what could your mastermind look like? This was interesting that stuck out yesterday. He said if the first plan which you adopt, which does not work successfully. Okay, let's say you had a plan. You were like, okay, I'm going to follow this layout. I'm going to go do this, this, and that. And I wonder if this will get me closer to my desire. Let's say you follow it, does not work. He says, replace it with a new plan. And if this new plan fails to work, replace it in turn with still another, and so on. And then here's the magic word, until you find a plan which does work. All right. So, right here is the point at which the majority of men meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the definite place of those which fail. Do you have the persistence to create new plans, implement them, and take action on them to figure out to get closer to the goal that you want? And I know that I'm talking about getting closer to the goal that you want as if it's somewhere out there, and I'm wrong by saying that, because I won't say the other end of that. But what I'm basically saying is, at the end of the day, we need plans, right? And it's like, do you have the ability to follow this plan? And the answer is yes. And let's say it doesn't work. Are you willing to implement new plans that will work? Okay. Now we're gonna get to reading on the next few pages. I know we got a lot of pages to go about. Anyways, okay. So this is gonna be key. This page. So I want you to pay really close attention to what we're about to talk about. He says, no man is ever whipped until he quits. And then I emphasize this point right here, in his own mind. I'll repeat that. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. This fact will be repeated many times because it is so easy to take the count at the first sign of defeat. James J. Hill met with temporary defeat when he first endeavored to raise the necessary capital to build a railroad from east to the west, but he too turned defeat into victory through new plans. Henry Ford met with temporary defeat not only at the beginning of his automobile career, but after he had gone far toward the top. He created new plans and went marching on to financial victory. We see men who have accumulated great fortunes, but we often recognize their only triumph, overlooking the temporary defeats which they have to surmount before arriving. No follower of this philosophy can reasonably expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. So don't be stunned if you get hit with defeat, even if you are following this book word for word. He's basically saying you can't reasonably expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. Now check this out. He says, when defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more toward your coveted goal. That's really interesting stuff. So he says, when defeat comes, what do you do when you hit a wall and you get knocked down? Accept it, he says, as a signal that your plans are not sound. Maybe the plan that you were following isn't the best plan that you could be following. He says, rebuild those plans and set sail once more toward your coveted goal. All right. So it's not the goal that he's saying that needs to be changed. Right. And this hits me deep because I keep thinking, maybe I gotta ditch this goal that I had because it's simply not, I'm not cut out for it. That's the negative self-talk I've been having. And the truth is, it's not that I gotta ditch the goal. It's that I gotta ditch the plan I've been currently following. But before I ditch it, rebuild, put new plans in place, and then get rid of the old plan and follow that. Now, this one's gonna hurt. So just brace yourself for what I'm about to say. He says, if you give up before your goal has been reached, you are a quitter. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Lift this sentence out, write it on a piece of paper in letters an inch high, and place it where you will see it every night before you go to sleep and every morning before you go to work. Okay, so I'll be 100% honest. That hurts deep, but you know what? It's what you got to hear sometimes. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. How many times have we heard that statement? Damn. Okay. Moving on. Now, how are you feeling after that paragraph? Okay. He says, when you begin to select members for your mastermind group, endeavor to select those who do not take defeat seriously. Oh, that's a good one. When you start, like, how do you want to get started? To select members for your mastermind group. Is this something that you can do right now? Can you begin to select members for your mastermind group? Who do you want a part of your mastermind? Keep this in mind when you do. Endeavor to select those who do not take defeat seriously. Some people foolishly believe that only money can make money. This is not true. Okay, we're gonna break a myth right here that a lot of people throw around out here that you need money. It takes money to make money, right? You'll hear a lot of people saying that, but Hill says this is not true. Desire transmuted into its monetary equivalent through the principles laid down here. How many principles are there in this book? There's 13 principles, right? If you follow all those, he says desire transmuted into its monetary equivalent through the principles laid down here is the agency through which money is made. Money of itself is nothing but inert matter. It cannot move, think, or talk, but it can hear when a man who desires it calls it to come. All right, so we just busted a huge myth that it takes money to make money. And why is that so? What does it take to make money? It takes desire, transmute it through the principles laid out in this book. So let me ask you this. Do you think it would be wise to understand and actually apply the 13 principles in this book? All right, so now we are going to dive into the next few pages, and we're going to end it off on the major attributes of leadership. Okay, so planning the sale of services. The remainder of this chapter has been given over to a description of ways and means of marketing personal services. The information here conveyed will be of practical help to any person having any form of personal services to market, but it will be of priceless benefit to those who aspire to leadership in their chosen occupations. Intelligent planning is essential for success in any undertaking designed to accumulate riches. Why does he say that intelligent planning is so essential for success in any undertaking, no matter what it is that you do? It doesn't matter what you do. But why is intelligent planning so essential? Here will be found detailed instructions to those who must begin the accumulation of riches by selling personal services. It should be encouraging to know that practically all the great fortunes began in the form of compensation for personal services or from the sale of ideas. Okay, we're going to break this down. I really need to emphasize this paragraph right here. Hill says it should be encouraging to know that practically all the great fortunes began in the form of compensation for personal services or from the sale of ideas. Okay, I'm going to read on and then we'll break it down. What else except ideas and personal services would one not possessed of property have to give in return for riches? Okay, what does this paragraph mean? What are you essentially able to get? Remember, we talked about an auto suggestion that we have to write down what it is that we tend to give so that we can get the goal that we have written down on our goal card or however you have written it down. Now what can you possibly give? It gets broken down into two categories. He says the form of compensation of personal services. How can you serve? What can you do to add value to others? Or from the sale of ideas. What ideas can you possibly sell? Right? Obviously, there's products, but at the end of the day, we're selling, we're selling like at the end of the day, you got to be selling. We're in the business of what? Like, what business are you in and what business are you really in? You're in the business of dot, dot, dot. I'll let you answer that. We'll come back to that question another time. But we're talking about great fortunes. All right. So I'm gonna leave this paragraph up to you. This is good stuff. Okay. Broadly speaking, there are two types of people in the world. One is known as leaders and the other as followers. Decide at the outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. The difference in compensation is vast. The follower cannot reasonably expect the compensation to which a leader is entitled, although many followers make the mistake of expecting such pay. It is no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it is no credit to remain a follower. Many great leaders began in the capacity of followers. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers. With few exceptions, the man who cannot follow a leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. The man who can follow a leader most efficiently is usually the man who develops into leadership most rapidly. An intelligent follower has many advantages, among them the opportunity to acquire knowledge from his leader. Okay. All right, we're talking about leadership here. We're going to dive into the 10 major attributes of leadership and then leave it at that. Okay. The following are important factors of leadership. I want you to ask yourself, am I this type of person? Is this something I can improve upon, or is this not me? One, unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and one's occupation. Hill says, no follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self confidence and courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. Okay, do you have unwavering college? Unwavering college. Do you have unwavering courage? Do you have self confidence in yourself? Two, self control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. Okay, what does self control like for you? Would you consider yourself a person of great self control or low self control? Is this something that you believe there is an area in your life you can improve upon? Three, a keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of his followers. Okay, justice, right? We're talking about what does that mean to have a sense of fairness and justice? And why can't a leader retain his followers without it? Number four, definiteness of decision. The man who wavers in his decisions shows that he is not sure of himself. He cannot lead others successfully. Now I want to ask you, what is the only prerequisite for a decision? What do you need to make a decision? What do you believe in terms of making decisions? Do you believe you make them fast or you make them slow? Do you understand why the rich make their decisions fast and committed while the poor end up taking a long time to making a decision and typically will go back on it? Do you understand the difference between the two? And no judgment here. I this is questions I need to be asking myself. Okay, number five, definiteness of plans. The successful leader must plan his work and work his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical, definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. Do you have a definite plan in place? Does it have to be perfect to get started? And are you willing to continuously adapt that plan as you move along in your journey? And what is a good like simile or metaphor for you for a leader who moves by guesswork without definite plans? What does Hill say this is related to? Right? He says it's like a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. We need some guidance, and our plan is like our personal boss that will help guide us to the end goal. Okay, number 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. The habit of doing more than paid for. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than he requires of his followers. Are you willing to go the extra mile to make sure that your community is served, that the people you are helping out is served? Number 7 in the top 10 major leaderships of, or the top 10 attributes of leadership. Number 7, a pleasing personality. No slovenly, careless person can become a successful leader. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not grade high on all of the factors of a pleasing personality. Okay, what is a pleasing personality? What does that look like to you? And what can you do to improve your personality so that it's more pleasing to others? I'm not saying that we want to be addicted to the approval of others, get everyone to like us, but how can we not, so to speak, bump into one another every time you meet somebody or you have a conversation? Like, how can we maybe avoid the disagreements, the arguments, the unnecessary emotional conflicts? How can we stay away from that and focus more so on developing a better pleasing personality? And why is this important? Right? Do you want people to want to be around you more, or do you want people to repel from you more? Especially if you want to become a leader. Okay, number 8, sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with his followers. Moreover, he must understand them and their problems. Okay, what is sympathy? What's the definition of sympathy? And what's the difference between sympathy and empathy? And what does it mean to understand the people following you and understand what they could be going through? Why is that an important case in leadership? Okay, number 9. Number 9, we're talking mastery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of details of the leader's position. Why why does he include mastery of detail? What happens if you miss out a few details when you are looking to lead people, right? How much, let's say you're leading people across the country and you start out going straight and you're on the right path, but let's say you miss a detail and you veer off the path by 1 degree, right? If you're going across the country, how far off of the end goal will you be leading people simply by starting at 1 degree off course, simply because you missed that detail? I hope that analogy makes sense. Number 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. Okay, 10 major attributes of leadership. Number 10 is willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of his followers. If he tries to shift this responsibility, he will not remain the leader. If one of his followers makes a mistake and shows himself incompetent, the leader must consider that it is he who failed. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about willingness to assume full responsibility. What does it mean to assume full responsibility, right? Everyone that is following you, right? You have a responsibility to them. What does that mean? Responsible. Something I'm not too much of an expert on, but I do know that my mentor would say, you're not responsible for them, right? I'm not responsible for your success in following this philosophy and getting whatever it is that you want. the definite end that you're looking for to get. That's the reason we're reading this book. But I'm responsible to you to maybe show up, provide you. Let's say you have a question. I'm responsible to show up and help you out, maybe answer that, or just keep going live and keep finishing up this philosophy so that you guys can be able to watch this content one day, whenever that is. Now, why do leaders fail when things go wrong and they say, hey, that's not my problem? Why is that not a major attribute of leadership? And what's the difference here? Okay, let's move on to the last one. 11, the last and final attribute that he'll list in this list of leadership is cooperation. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce his followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. Cool stuff. All right, I'm going to finish this episode off with this paragraph. Hill says that there are two forms of leadership. The first and by far the most effective is leadership of consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. All right, so that's the first form. Now, the second form is leadership by force without the consent and sympathy of the followers. Now, this is a question for you. This is what he describes in the next page, but it's just a simple question. What type of leadership will live on indefinitely? And what type of leader do you intend to be? And if you intend to lead by force, how long do you truly think that's actually going to last? Do you think it's meritable? Or do you think it's what's the word? Like, do you think it's like capable of long form of leadership? Or do you think at one point your followers will be like, screw this dude or screw this woman, I'm done following him if you're leading by force? All right, so we're gonna end it off there. Definitely love this episode, being able to talk about the 10 major attributes of leadership. And additionally, another thing I liked from this was just thinking about, am I really going to give up on my goal? And what would that make me? What is the word? What is the Q word that I don't want to say that it would make me, right? It would make me a quitter. And no one wants to be a quitter. And that is the only time that you can say you truly failed, when you have given up in your own mind. So the question is, am I ready to get back on track, to set up the bar, set it up high, and continue working toward it? Or am I going to be a quitter and throw in the towel? So I want to leave you off with that thought. And I'll end you with this. Until we meet again in time and space, I will see you all on the next live stream. Peace out.